Well, here we go with part 3. And yes, there will be a fourth part to get through all of the material that you've submitted. So far, it's been pretty good. Our major issue has been cropping and occasionally picking the right subject for either a minimum or a maximum depth of field. But let's see how it goes from here. And we open up with a black and white shot of a biker pulling up to a stop sign. It's an interesting enough shot. It certainly has deep depth of field, everything from the foreground where the bike is to the background where the mountains are, all seems to be sharp enough. But it's also one that leaves us wondering what precisely the point of the shot is. We've got the biker here just holding while he apparently has the red light. We can see what avenue it is, Woodside Avenue. But despite the fact that there is information here, there doesn't really appear to be much of a focal point. Is it what looks like a stack of beehives or whatever this is in the background? Is it the truck on this road? What is the point of this shot, other than maybe to show someone in a particular location? I'm not really sure what this is all about. So again, nice use of deep depth of field, but the shot doesn't really go anywhere. And here we have a shot that certainly shows shallow depth of field. The only parts in focus appear to be this leading edge of the styrofoam sphere that looks like it's been tortured to death with 1,000 skewers poking into it, seeking maybe information about where it's hid the formula to its styrofoam heart. So that's an interesting use of shallow depth of field, but it's in and of itself isn't telling us anything about the subject. In this case, the subject is obvious. It's the ball with the stuff stuck in it. But what is that? Why is it? What is its purpose? Why are we supposed to care about it? Those are not things that are readily available. Remember, think about your photograph as a story. How many of you have read stories that you started, read the whole thing, got to the end, and had no idea why you'd read it? You didn't learn a thing. Nobody changed. Nobody grew up. Nobody fell apart. No conflict was brought up. No conflict was resolved. It was just words strung together. Well, a photograph, in many ways, is the same way. We've got visual words strung together here. And there are a lot of them, and some of them are interesting words. But taken as a whole, we haven't learned anything from looking at this. Now, here we have a parking lot. Looking across parking spaces to a cross and then the city in the background. Okay. So we've got that. We've got great depth of field, goodness knows, from the leading edge of the parking lot down here up to the, well, I was wrong. That isn't a city. It's a marina. A marina in the background. It certainly has deep depth of field. It certainly has a leading line going into the cross. But what is it telling us? Is it about the cross and this monument that happens to be by a marina? Well, if so, why do we have all of this? Is it about the parking lot? Is there something special about this parking lot we should be aware of? Is there a yawning hole here ready to gobble up cars? Is there some reason to pay attention here? It's not readily apparent. Is the marina important? Is the arbor important? What is this about? So again, you've got deep depth of field, but it doesn't particularly tell us anything. Well, now we do have a story-filled image of some kind. Have they ever settled the argument over using the Aztec warrior as a mascot? Has anybody ever explained why that's an argument in the first place? But in any case, here is a shot of the warrior coming running out of the fog. I guess they were all in a fog of some kind until they escape out onto the field, and that must be meaningful. I would think you'd have to be careful with that spear and the inflatable mouthpiece or mouth guard on the helmet. But anyway, it does show that it's a little flat. There's not much action. This could make an interesting poster if it were composed a little different and we had a little more room for text in it. This could make a nice rah-rah poster for the Aztecs or for football in that league generally. I mean, there are a lot of things you could do with it like this. As a standalone picture, maybe we could use a little more contrast. But overall, again, it's got deep depth of field, more or less. The very foreground is out, but we've got at least close to the foreground is sharp, midground is sharp, background that isn't obscured by the fog is fairly sharp. So it meets those requirements. I think, like to see it a little more contrasty, a little more dynamic. This is really a dynamic outfit. And here we have minimal depth of field. And in this case, it does kind of work, except we've got a huge amount of real estate in this shot that isn't contributing anything. The window, all of this. Your shot is here in the middle of this shot. So we don't need all of this other stuff. So I would simply get rid of it. I would make this into a shot that is about what the apparent subject is, which is this bottle of mineral water. I'd give it just a little more room over the top. And call that the photograph, not all of this stuff to the side. And again, you could put text in here, please buy this particular mineral water because it'll make you strong and beautiful and handsome and whatever. But we don't need all of the rest of that out of focus area. Now we have another narrow depth of field shot with this little pot of cactus. And this has really got some very interesting texture in it. This could be a really cool shot, especially in here, because that's where your real photograph is. This stuff in the background, yeah, it gives it some context, but it doesn't particularly help it. You could argue that this provides some interesting leading lines flowing into the subject, pointing at it. Yeah, okay. But it doesn't need it. Here we have, this is really kind of superb texture and stuff. So again, I would start this by coming right in on what the shot really appears to be mostly all about. And then we could see, could we come in even farther? We've got this little thing down here that's kind of a problem. Do we need to see all of this tub? Maybe not. Maybe we could do that and simply get rid of it. We could get rid of this little spot easily enough. The same with these pieces. Let's, for the moment, do that. And again, we could use a spot healing brush. That would be a handy way to do with it. Or over here, the spot healing brush doesn't like some of these things right down in the corner. So I'm going to pick up some of this dark tone in the earth here and just paint over it to get rid of it. So here I think is where the real shot is. Let's see. Is it possible that we should go in even closer? Because this is cool. This is really kind of interesting. Could we bring this in even tighter? Let's see what we have here. So that now we're really concentrating on all this wonderful little detail in here. And then what I do is vignette it slightly so that we can't miss the point. Let's come down, make our duplicate layer, turn this into a multiply layer, and well, I'll deal with this as a straight layer mask and bring out the stuff I'd like to see lighter. So we use a black brush. Should be set to normal. I'm going to set the opacity down to maybe 30%. Now, with this center part opened up a little and the background darker, we have a nice piece. We have this little radical up here in the corner. I'm going to flatten this, pick up this green, tell my brush to darken, and just tone that down a little. Maybe tone down this edge. And now we're really starting to concentrate in on the area that's our primary subject. All of this. This is very cool. Very nice in here. We could even come in a little bit tighter on the side if we wanted to. Could even turn this into a vertical or a square. This would make a really nice square. Yeah, too much. Here we go. Okay, this is really nice. This would make a nice little canvas painting. Little still life with spines. A nice long depth of field shot down the colonnade here. Our problem is there's almost not a single straight line in it. That is off. Our uprights are off. I think maybe the only straight line in the whole thing is over here. It's off a little, but it's close. Closer. Well, that may look okay once the other lines are straightened up. So let's do a select all and edit, transform, skew. And now we'll grab this little corner and pull it straight. Then almost straighten this up. And that pretty much straightened out the horizon while we were at it. So let's take that. We'll get rid of our guidelines. Now I have a shot that is much straighter. So now we could get into dealing with this part. Should we darken that a little? Probably. It's a little blown out. This would be another one that Adobe Camera Raw, when you made the conversion, would be the place to pull these highlights down. I'm not sure if there's actually material there we can recover. Let's check really quickly. Not much. We can darken the whole thing, but we can't really still pull data into there. Now, let me try something here. I don't know if this will work. I haven't tried this in advance. Let me try a blend if. I want the top layer to blend only if it is light. I do not want any of this to blend. And the underlying layer is white. I can build some detail in there. Not a whole lot, but at least it's something that we can put back into there. But it is a nice deep depth of field shot. You certainly get a feel for this portico. Now, I'm going to do that one more time. See if now that I've put a little bit of tone in there, I can make that come back with this multiply. Well, better. So, let me make that a layer mask. I'm going to make it a reversed mask. And since I already had done the normal mask, instead of making the mask with the Alt click on the mask, now a Control I for inverted that mask. If you're going to do it that way, that has to be your very first step. If you wait until you've done something else, the Control I will invert whatever the last thing you did, which might not be what you want. So I'm going to come in here with a white brush and see if I can bring some of this in. We'll see. No, that's gone. There's nothing we can do there except spill over and darken other parts. How about here? Well, I can make that view down the portico stand out a little better, but that's about all. So again, be really careful. This is a hard tonal range to shoot. It's way out of most cameras' range, so you're creating a hard problem for yourself. The ideal way to do this would have been 2 exposures. One for the interior of this colonnade and another for the exterior shots. With your camera on a tripod, you could then blend those together and have the best of both worlds. Do an exposure blend. We'll talk about that a little later in the class, but that would be the solution to it. Okay, here we have a pier out somewhere. We would appear to have a pier on this shot. The horizon is a bit off, so I'm assuming they're all watching while all of the water in the ocean pours off this side of the now sloped table. But other than that, that might give us a subtle clue as to why everybody's here. Without that, we have no clue. We don't know what's going on here. We don't know what pier this is, why these people are here. Are they fishing? Nobody's fishing. It doesn't look like. This guy's not even looking over the edge. Maybe he got seasick. What's going on here? You did get deep depth of field. Yeah, the old silly old professor said you got to shoot one with deep depth of field. Yes, I did, but I said select a subject that is best portrayed by that deep depth of field, where your story of that subject is best portrayed. Our problem here is we certainly have deep depth of field. Boy, you got that. The problem is, what is the story that you're attempting to tell with this? Oh, here we have a really nice portrait of this young lady at the colonnade in the park. It's a nice semi-silhouette backlit, so you get a really nice view of the profile This is a very nice shot. This is taking away from your face. I mean, here's where your shot is. This face. That's generally where most portrait shots are, is in the face. So I would probably have shot this as a vertical, not a horizontal. And come into where that's what I was seeing. Because there isn't enough of the background in this shot to make it important to the shot. It's about the lighting, not the location. So with that in mind, then again, a second shot, even if she had moved, or you put the camera on a tripod, take this shot, let her go, and then take a shot to expose for this area. And blend those together. You'll have a much nicer, more appealing shot. But this is very nice. This part is really cool. I think it's strong enough, personally, to where you could come in even tighter on it. And that's the shot you'd want to put in the frame on your desk or in your wallet. You don't need all the rest of it. This is your photograph. Okay, well, let's move on to the last part and get that up and done for you all.